Hey everybody, welcome back to Around the Emirates podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across the UAE about topics you want to hear about. Today I'm joined by the incredible Aly Rahimtoola. Hi Ali.
Good morning. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Sunday morning, and it's always good to be in Dubai on a Sunday morning with coffee and talking to people.
I love that. So I invited Ali to be on the show today because he is CEO of Bien-Etre, which is a consumer health technology company dedicated to extending health span with an awesome new product just launched. Please, Ali, tell me your story and what got you started.
Sure. I'll try not to labor it and bore you too much with the listeners, but in essence, I've had what you might call a non-linear career. I was born in Pakistan, raised in London, college in the States, and after I went to Brown, worked in New York in investment banking. Up to then, fairly traditional. I joined the family business, which was in shipping, and I moved to Dubai in 1996. So next year will be 30 years in Dubai. Um, Nothing on paper screams health, wellness, or health span about that story thus far. But about 10 years ago, I had an idea for a skincare brand, which I started called Herbal Essentials. And I built that up. And in the course of building it up, something hit me. One size doesn't fit all. It's all about personalization. It's all about wellness. Skin is your largest living, breathing organ. And all the while we were building that up, you go into a store and someone says, you got dry skin, so use this moisturizer. And I think the beauty industry and the wellness industry has done a one size fits all for decades. Actually, I think one thing COVID has shown is that we're all unique and we all need personalized solutions and interventions and advice. And that's what Bien-Etre is. It's the French for well-being, and it's a platform that hopefully aims to boost your longevity, beauty, personalization, and wellness.
I love that. So in the process of you building such a unique company, and obviously you mentioned yourself, this is not something that you were raised as an expert in. This is not something that you necessarily studied in college. What challenges came with creating this company?
I mean, the first challenge was the first business, which was the skincare brand. I'd had a career in shipping, and I think a lot of my friends here in Dubai were quite amused to see at that point. I'm in my mid 50s, so at that point, early 40s, jumping into a new industry that was quite alien from shipping, global shipping and commodity trading. So the challenge was learning the industry. I didn't have 10 years at L'Oreal or Estee Lauder to learn from. So often I would go to meetings, but I had an idea. And I think that's what entrepreneurs and founders have is they have a vision, they have an idea, and they have a thirst for knowledge, and they're curious. But the funny thing is I'd go to meetings and people would use all this jargon, and in those days, we didn't have Chat GPT. So I'd look under the phone with my phone and I'd go to Google and I'd be typing, what is this marketing advertising company pitching me? What do they mean by XYZ? And then that again gave me an epiphany because in industry, people use so many jargons, but the everyday people don't understand that. I mean, if you talk about skincare and you talk about ingredients, and you go in and how many people look at those complicated words on a packaging, right? So I think one of the things that we're trying to do in our business, in the old business, but even the current business, is it's not a question of dumbing it down. It's just simplifying it so that you actually understand it. And I think in the process of doing that, you communicate what the service is or the product is. Far often, more often than not, I think brands and businesses love to use complicated jargon. But what they don't realize is that the busy mum or the busy dad, they're so busy with their careers or their kids or their pastimes, they don't
Right.
have time to do GPT stuff. And I think that's something that is one of our missions is not just to democratize wellness and beauty and personalization and to make it accessible, but to explain it in a very simple language so that you don't need to go read a thesaurus to understand what it says on the packaging.
I really appreciate that. And I think that's something that comes out with the empathy that you have as an entrepreneur. You're not just thinking about, I want to make money. Obviously you do have a revenue, but you're thinking about the consumer. You're putting yourself in the consumer's shoes and thinking, what would my impression be if I read the ingredients on this box? What would my impression be if I read about this company? Would I understand what the company is about? Does my vision align with the company's vision? So it's very cool that you've been able to implement that.
Yeah, but it's common business sense to me because the person who votes as to whether my business or any other business is a success is not the department store or the pharmacy or the retailer or the distributor. It's the everyday consumer. He or she votes with the Apple Pay or the Google Pay or their debit card. And that's the vote. That's the ultimate thing. So if you
Right.
can explain it to them, you have a better chance of winning.
That's beautiful. I really appreciate that. And is there, I mean, obviously you had a massive life moment shift when you went from shipping to skincare, but is there a moment that you felt was like really impactful or like a milestone that really is like you hold dear to your heart?
I, there's been lots of moments. I think if you ask my wife, it's probably on a daily basis. But no, but seriously, I think the thing that I realized most is it was just after COVID, and if you think back to those times, wherever you were on this planet, there was so much uncertainty, there was so much fear, and it actually gave me time to think a little bit. And I think that's the other thing I would recommend to any young founders. I sit on the board of a couple of early stage businesses I want to give back. And I always tell them, please take time to think. You're so busy doing that no one thinks anymore. And I think the thought process that hit me was exactly the point I made earlier on, is that one size doesn't fit all. We're all unique. Your body, your DNA, your lifestyle, Sarah, is very different than your siblings or your parents or your cousins. And as a result, because of technology, because of data, because of AI, we're able to translate that input far quicker and more efficiently and give you an output that's a personalized plan. I mean, Bien-Etre talks about improving health span. Again, to desimplify the jargon, what is health span? A lot of people wonder what that is. Well, it's very simple. The average age expectancy in the Western world is 80 to 85. In the GCC region, it's 77 to 80. But in simple parlance, people start getting aches and pains and age-related diseases, whether it's obesity, whether it's diabetes or other horrible things, brain fog, cognitive functions, typically around the age of 40, 45, 50. So that means that there's about a 20-year gap between the end of your natural life and when you suddenly start to have aches and pains, right? If you think about that in percentage terms, it's roughly 20, 25% of your life. So if you break down your life into quarters, right? Like a game of American football or basketball, right? The first 25% is your education, you learn. The second 25 is figuring out what you want to do, meeting meaningful people, maybe your life partner, whatever. The third 25% is building something for your family traditionally and for yourself, right? When you've achieved all that, isn't it a shame that most people suddenly have some form of age-related disease? So all we try to do at Bien-Etre is we try to analyze through diagnostics, measuring stuff, and then simple supplementation and advice so that you can narrow the health span. Because, you should be 65 or 68 and go on that trek to Kilimanjaro that you've always wanted to do, but you just never had time in your 30s or 40s or 50s. And so it's a very simple mission. But again, in the course of doing that, you need to measure and use science so that you get the not one size fits all. If that makes any sense.
And it makes perfect sense. And honestly, hearing your ambition and passion, the way that you're speaking is so inspiring. You are not just doing something because of, like I said before, because of the revenue. You're doing it because you understand it and you want to help people. I love the fact that you're on several boards of startups as well. And it just goes to show how much you want to give back to the community. And I do have one little curiosity for you, though. I know you have this new product called New Vivant, and I'm curious about it.
So within Bien-Etre, we have an NAD optimization plan. NAD is the enzyme that fuels your cellular energy. In simple parlance, it's the fuel that makes you work. Um, Data and science shows that when you're born, you have 100%. So think of it as a fuel tank. It's full.
Mhm.
Data also shows that by the time most people hit the age of 40, you've lost half of it. it probably explains why there's that stereotype that in your teens, in your 20s and 30s, you can have that late night and still be fine the next day because you've got NAD coursing through your blood and your vein, giving you the metabolic functions for your activities. You get slower in your 40s and 50s. In the UAE and the GCC, you can measure it through a full blood draw, but there are no labs that can do that. What we've developed is an at-home blood prick test because who has time to go to a clinic and do a full blood draw? And it's expensive, right? Again, the mission is to make health span accessible. So we've worked with scientists in the States, groundbreaking geniuses, and I sit in a room in awe of these guys. And we've developed a very simple box, and it's an at-home blood prick test. You lance it, you do it, you send it back, and within a week you get your score out of 100. Based on that, you can then take the right interventions you need, whether we have supplements, which is a 1,000 milligram or a 500 milligram. If you're heavily depleted, you can get NAD IV drips, right? There are now injector pens coming out there. So there's a big fuss about NAD. NAD is not new, and in the UAE, people definitely talk about it. But the number of people I meet and I say, "Oh, you're on NAD?" Yeah, very proudly. My wife and I were out the other day, and someone very proudly said, "Yes, yes, I take an NAD drip." I said, "Oh, what's your score?" Uh, I don't know. So
Mm.
doesn't it make sense to have a baseline score? But doesn't it make sense to do it at home, very affordable? And what we've developed is a membership plan. This region is not cheap. Costs are going up, and we just want to keep things accessible. So we've launched an NAD optimization plan. It's a 3-month plan. It includes an NAD test and then 3 months worth of supplements. And it's around 650 dirhams a month, which may be expensive, but it covers the cost of the test. But more importantly, it allows you to then have an insight into your NAD levels.
That is amazing. Like you're making something accessible to people, you're teaching people about the importance of their health, you're educating people on things like that they wouldn't have tapped into before. So they may,
Yeah,
use it, they may have some
yeah,
like awareness of it, but they don't know their score,
yeah.
right? So like what's the point? Like you have to go the full mile. So it's
Well,
amazing that
well, look, you can go buy an NAD drip. It's 700 dirhams, and you can do that once a month. But wouldn't you rather pay about the same or a bit less, but also have the test? So I think what's unique about this is we're the first company in the region to bring an at-home blood prick collection test to measure NAD. And we do that with a CLIA, which is the highest standard of accreditation lab. It's in the States. The plan and the ambition is as we build the business is to actually set up the testing facility here in the UAE. But as I said, we're an early stage business, so we need to get going. But inshallah, hopefully next year you will have the facility here, so you don't even need to ship that off to the States. We do it all, but we would just have our own site here.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today, Ali. This is a beautiful product, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to
Thank
learn
you.
so much just from hearing you speak. Do you have any final message for the audiences today?
I think two very quick messages, and I'll try not to lecture and sound pompous. For people out there, just be curious. There's so much science, there's so much data out there. Do not accept a one size fits all solution. You're unique. You are you and you are beautiful, but you have a right to therefore have that personalized plan, which is whether you are our company or other companies, just look at personalization. That's the first thing. And to founders out there, because I've been a founder for most of my life, be curious. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to ask difficult questions. It's okay to be in a room and not know the answer. That's what makes you a founder. But just keep working through it and be resilient. It's as simple as that.
Thank you so much, Ali, for your inspirational words and for sharing your story on our platform today.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Take care. Bye.